Hello, and welcome to Organizing Your Coaching Cycle. In this session, we're going to talk about how you can organize your life and how you're able to get in a routine with these different coaching cycles. So that way you're able to help more teachers and you're able to make an impact to those teachers. So, my name is Stephanie Howe, and I'm an instructional technology coach in Pickerington, Ohio. I have been coaching for 5 years, and I also have my own LLC. It's called Gold EDU, and you can check that out at goldedu.org for more information. So let's go ahead and we're going to talk about organizing this coaching cycle. So, what we're going to cover today is what is a coaching cycle? How do you identify and understand challenges? What might be some of those different strategies that you can use? And then you're going to pick one of those strategies and start to implement it in the classroom. After that, we're going to talk about what that reflection looks like. So, we're using the 5-step coaching model that Google provides when we are going to go over how to kind of organize our coaching cycles, but you're also going to have a bunch of resources that you can use in your classroom with those teachers to plan and implement this coaching cycle. So here is the 5-step coaching cycle. Again, the first thing is you're identifying a problem with a teacher. You're going in and you're problem solving with them. What is going on? What's wrong? How can I support you? Is kind of the questions that you're going to be asking. After that, you're going to brainstorm together different ideas. This could be the best idea, the worst idea. Any idea is what you kind of want to throw out there onto the board. Then you're going to talk about tools. What tools can be used when we're talking about coaching? And you're going to start to implement it. So then that next step is implementation. And you're going to work with the teacher. And sometimes that might look like a co-teaching relationship, or it might be where you are observing the teacher or you are modeling a lesson. Then the last step is that reflection piece where you are reflecting together. Okay, what went well? What do we need to improve? What challenges occurred? And how can we continue to go forward? So, again, I love to use the Google Coaches model, the 5-step cycle. And if you have not done the Google coaching curriculum in that area, I highly suggest it. It was worthwhile my time. I learned a lot of different strategies that I'm also going to kind of talk to today, but there are so much more in that curriculum, more than this 45-minute presentation. So I highly suggest you check that out and get that certification. So the first one is identifying and understanding those challenges. So again, it's really important to problem solve with teachers. When I first started out coaching, I made a lot of mistakes. One of the mistakes I made was I sent out a Google form to all of my teachers. I did like a needs assessment to figure out what they needed, what type of PD they wanted, that kind of stuff. It was more focused on the technology tool. After doing the Google Certified Coaching Program, I realized that I needed to change my mindset and do this gripe jam. So, a gripe jam is where teachers go in and they put all their complaints down on a Jamboard or a post it note. And right here, if you click and you'll have access to the slides at the end of the presentation, you can kind of see what this gripe jam is about. So right here is an example. So what I typically did with my teachers is I would pull up a Jamboard. So they would have a Google Jamboard, and what they would do is it's kind of a timed activity. They would take these yellow post-it notes. So that in Jamboard, they would grab these yellow post-it notes, and you can do this on paper as well. And they would write down as many gripes that they had as possible onto this Jamboard. You can have everybody collaborating in one slide deck or one jam, or you could do this individually. So totally up to you. So again, before I was doing a Google form, I was focusing on the tool. Rate Pear Deck on a scale of 1 to 5. How well do you know it? And I was like, Pear Deck's always the answer. With a gripe jam, Pear Deck is not always the answer. There's multiple solutions to a problem. And what I have to do next is I have to meet with that teacher and figure out, okay, what is going to be best for that problem? With my needs assessment, I was more focused on the technology as a tool, where now I'm focusing on the teacher's problem and how can I help you save time? And sometimes technology is the answer, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes we have to build a little foundation before we can get to that next level. So again, they're going to grab a post-it note. They're going to put all of their vents onto that post-it note. Then I like to kind of help them problem solve. So, like every 30 seconds, I'll put up a new kind of gripe that could happen. So, I might say, okay, think of a struggling situation. And then they start to use those post it notes and they write there. Virtual learning. What was some gripes that you had when it came to technology? The students, how was it? Okay, so then they would write down their gripes. Then I would say, okay, 1/4 of your class is out due to quarantine. What kind of issues might occur there? You just got to school. What kind of problems occur when you just get to school? Maybe it's a teacher that continuously talks to you right away. Maybe you're running late all the time. Maybe when you get there, your door's locked. Okay, so thinking about all of those different gripes when you first get to school. It's your planning time. And that principal maybe walks in on you and you're like, I need to get stuff done. Or maybe the specials teacher uses your classroom. Okay, what are those gripes that are occurring when it's your planning time? Then, what are some gripes during a lesson? How are you seeing students? Maybe they're not engaged. Maybe you are having issues differentiating. Okay, what are those gripes that are occurring? And again, every 30 seconds, they're seeing a new problem that could occur throughout the day. And then they're able to brainstorm what those problems are on their gripe jam. So it's lunchtime. And again, they're explaining what's happening and what they're dealing with during that time. They're about to begin a staff meeting. School just ended. You just got home. Okay. So again, all of these different things are happening. And they've got all of these different gripes up here on this board. And then I like to add the collaborative piece because I do a lot of group coaching. I did not do a whole lot of group coaching my first year because I was building up my clientele. But now that I have, I've kind of like to use that where people can add some additional notes and comments on other people's gripes if you're doing this collaboratively. Again, if you're not, that's totally fine. Maybe myself, I would go back later and add some notes and comments to them. Once they do that, they're going to take their yellow pieces of paper and they are going to align them from most frustrating all the way to least frustrating. Okay, so right here, that little timeline, most frustrating to least frustrating. And they're going to put their little post it notes on this board. Once they do that, they're going to then rise it up or down with less people affected to most people affected. Okay, so you can kind of see here teacher well being. It's not that frustrating for this person, but adding right here where it says building positive relationships with admin. Okay, that's a little harder and it affects this many people. So that's somewhere where we might start our coaching session. Okay, so right here is where I would start whatever session I needed for my teachers. Okay, so again, you can kind of see here. And this gripe I did with tech coaches. So you can kind of, again, just kind of see an example. But with teachers, usually they have like classroom behavior. They might have that one student that can't follow along. And I like to do this like at the beginning of the year in September, October. That way they get to know their students a little bit, but then they can add those gripes in and then we can start our coaching cycle right away because August is usually kind of crazy behind the scenes stuff in my role. Okay, so that is the gripe jam. And again, I love it because it's so focused on what the teacher needs rather than the technology, what the district wants, because we're not going to meet our district goals unless we meet what the teachers need. The next one is be present. So be available for teachers. Walk around the room when you have free moments. Be mobile. Be able to just go up to them and say, "How can I help you?" Taking things off teachers' plates will allow them to feel more comfortable with you, and you'll be able to start that coaching cycle with that relationship. So, again, just be present. There's some teachers that I know will not email me. So, I need to stop in and see those teachers and check in with them one on one. And then just asking them, how can I help you? Maybe they're really stressed out. Okay, what can I do to help? Or can I do this to take this off your plate? Or hey, I've got some extra time. I can help you with this. That was a great way for me to start getting into classrooms with teachers. It allowed them to trust me. It allowed them to see, oh, she did say what she was going to say and she got it done. So building that relationship was huge during that time. Then number two is you're going to investigate possible strategies. So now that we know that gripe, we know that pain point for teachers, we are now going to explore what resources or what strategies can we use for teachers. So there's a couple of different ways that I've done it. And again, I'm telling you from my failures. When I first started, I had a bunch of resources and it wasn't organized. So I would send them to teachers and it would take me more time to research them, find them, create them, all that kind of stuff. Well, now at year 5, I started to create a toolbox. So right here, I created my own little toolbox for my instructional bank. And I organized it by all of the different subjects. So you can see here ELA resources, math resources, history, SEL, blended learning, and design tips. So these are a lot of things that I send to teachers. And what I love about this hub is on Twitter, I'll be on there and I can grab that template that somebody shared and I can add it to the correct place of where it goes. And then I can have a teacher that says, I am really struggling with getting my kids engaged in this novel. Well, let's do some pre reading activities. And I can go over here to my pre reading area and we could go on a virtual field trip. I've got a whole spreadsheet with other resources for that. I could do popcorn predictions where my students have all these different quotes and they're collaborating on what they think the story is going to be about based on just the sentence from the book. And there's multiple books, so they're putting those together. So again, there's all these different ideas of different things that I'm able to do with my students and with my teachers. And I typically do not share this hub with my teachers. I typically keep this for myself. And so when I'm meeting with them, I can just say, oh, here's a couple different ideas that we can look at where I can pull this up while we're meeting one-on-one. I'm not wasting time searching in my drive. Everything's right in front of me. And then I can kind of quickly hover to, and I can get a quick view of what that resource looks like. This has saved me a lot of time, and I really wish I would have started earlier in my career on this because it took me more time to build out this year, but it really has saved me time in the long haul. And it's just nice because I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I had that resource, or that was a really good find on Twitter. And I just didn't have the time, wasn't right to share it with teachers. So when they do come to me or I'm in a teacher-based team meeting and I hear, hey, we're about to teach this, I can pull this up and I have a couple of banks where I can say, oh, have you tried this strategy or this strategy? And a lot of these are collaborative. They're high Hattie strategies that I was able to find on Facebook, on Twitter, or just through my own drive or my own creation after thinking of what different teachers needs. So again, huge time saver. So I would start creating that now if that's something you're thinking about. Now, my high teachers that are ready to keep going, they do have access to this. So they do have access because those teachers are a lot of times creating like choice boards. And so they want to have all these available to them. And so they're able to go, okay, I need to focus on character. And so then they can go here and create, okay, I want to do a this or that board, or what I want to do really is something else. So again, a lot of our coaching might happen asynchronously where we are collaborating behind the scenes on things, those go-getter type of teachers. So it works out for everybody. Again, don't share it out wholly, but I do share it out with those kind of go-getter teachers that need that extra push, or need those resources available to them, and they're able to handle all of this craziness. Okay. Also, YouTube. So I am supporting 10 different buildings currently. And because of that, I struggled with how am I going to reach every single teacher? How am I going to share all these ideas? How am I going to explain certain resources? So I started my own YouTube channel. It's called Gold EDU. So feel free to subscribe and join. I post a lot of different videos. Sometimes they're really quick, sometimes they are longer. I do try to keep the ones for my teachers really, really quick. So like here you can see this was a strategy using a website where students' drawings can come to life. And so I just quickly walk my teachers through this strategy. And what they do is they can watch it. If they need a more assistance or want me to come in and co-teach, I'm able to do that for them. So a lot of times I'll send them different videos, or I'll put the video in my resource as like, hey, if you need extra help or you're interested in this resource, here is some extra help. And again, I try to keep them really short, but low 5 minutes is like my goal typically. But sometimes there are longer sessions like this one that's 35 minutes. And my teachers really do appreciate it. And it allows me to reach more teachers than I could. And sometimes I'll make a video that is student facing. So if I can't get to a teacher due to my schedule, I will create a video for that student or that group of students or the students that need that project. And the teacher is able to show me, and I'm able to be cloned. So this has really helped me just grow as an educator. And then I'm able to also share my ideas widely with the global community as well. Which leads me to a PLN. So PLN stands for Personal Learning Network, if you're unfamiliar with that term. And what that means is people from all over the world. If you're not on Twitter, join Twitter. If you're not on Instagram, join Instagram. Wherever you are or wherever you need, meet people, okay? My place is Twitter. And I love just getting on. So if it's not Twitter, get on Instagram, get on Facebook, get on TikTok. Okay, any of those will work. But what you can do is you can find all of these amazing educators. And if you see an idea, comment back to them or DM them. Maybe it's really cool. Let them know. Give them a shout out. Maybe you have a question. Send them a message and ask. I am so much better because of my PLN. And so back in 2019, I got invited to the Google Innovator Academy. And in that academy, I learned that you can ask people for help, and they will help you. Um, so I was able to do that, and I was able to reach out to all of these amazing educators who were able to help me grow. And it was because of that community that allowed me to grow. And I now am not an expert of everything. I have people that are, and I know who to go to. So they can help me, I can help them. And it's just a really great community to be a part of. So I highly suggest go be a part of a PLN, whether that's through an email group or whether that is through Facebook or Twitter. Whatever it is, reach out to people and just tell them thank you, to build that connection, build that relationship, and it will be a good relationship that you won't regret. All right, number 3 is picking those personalized strategies and tools. So once I kind of talk to teachers, and I try to give some teachers like 3 options. Before, again, mistake maker right here, I would send out teachers like 11 to 10 different resources. Most teachers cannot handle that. So you've got to know your teachers, and you do that by step 1, building that relationship with them. Once you have that relationship with them, then you can kind of say, okay, this teacher can handle maybe 5 resources. This teacher can only handle 1. So let's just pick one that's going to be easy to implement, low stress, and that kind of stuff. Okay. I know there's multiple ways to do things, but sometimes teachers just need a couple. So once I did that, we would sit down and we would co-plan. I never went into a classroom without co-planning. This was a wise advice that I got from one of my other coworkers, Jen Fury. Always co-plan. Set up a time where you can meet together. You can co-plan what the lesson's going to look like, and then schedule a time to come in and co-teach. So again, it was very, very centered on this is what we're going to do together, and this is how we're going to get to that end goal. So again, schedule that time to co-plan. Once you co-plan, decide who's going to do what. Delegate. Okay, I'm going to print these copies. I'm going to post it in Google Classroom. On the day of, I'm going to model, and you're going to watch, and you're going to help the back students. Or, hey, we're going to try station rotation. I'll be at this station. You be at this station. Also, I'm going to be over here. Or, hey, let's co-teach. I'm going to do this first part. You do this second part. Really lay it out for teachers if they're unfamiliar with your style or what you're about to do. Also, during this part, I kind of like teachers if we're doing a longer coaching cycle. So if it's going to be longer and maybe 4 different weeks or 6 different weeks, I like to tell teachers too, okay, this first week I'm modeling. But then after that, this is what it's going to look like. This is what it's going to like. You show them the scaffold of you being slowly released for them to handle their own classroom. So again, I kind of talk to them about, okay, this is the problem we're looking at. I'm going to come in and observe. I just want to see what's going on. The second week, I will model a lesson after I watch that observation and kind of get to know your students. Week 3, let's co-teach. Week 4, let's co-teach again. Week 5, maybe we'll co-teach again. We'll see how it's going, but maybe co-teach and slowly release. And then week 6, I want you to try it by yourself, and I'm going to observe again. Okay, so again, setting it up depending on what the problem is. There are some coaching cycles that might take longer than others, depending on what that gripe jam tells you. Okay, but really telling them kind of like, what it might look like if it is a longer coaching cycle has really helped me. Or, hey, we're going to start with station rotation for this blended learning coaching cycle until your students get a hand on the process, they get a hand on what is expected from them. Once they have all those expectations, we are then going to slowly begin to work on a checklist or a playlist or a roadmap. But again, I want those expectations first. So again, I like to scaffold, okay, here's the beginning of what it's going to look like, and here's the end if it's a longer coaching cycle. And again, still delegating whatever you need to delegate. And then that co-teaching piece. So you're going to develop a co-teaching plan. And I love this post on Twitter. So right here, TCA, they posted a co-teaching kind of model. So you can click their link and it's going to take you to additional details. But these are the models. And I come from a spec ed background. So a lot of my model was co-teaching. You could walk in the room and you wouldn't know who the regular ed teacher was, which was really, really nice for my students. And so here are the different models. So again, you might have a lead and one support. And so if you've got that lead teacher teaching, you might have that person that's behind in the back, kind of observing, but also supporting the students. You could do team teaching. You could do parallel teaching where you're kind of both taking two different groups. You could also do like an enrichment and maybe like your lower group. You could also do stations. Or you could do this circuit teaching, okay? And I love these questions here. What is the text used to teach the content? Who will set the context? Who will do the modeling? How will the content be chunked? Okay, so again, like it gives really good questions on this post that they kind of posted about. And I just liked how they kind of did that as well. So this is a great resource if you're unfamiliar with co-teaching. I highly suggest that resource from TCEA. But again, you want to decide, okay, I'm going to model this first and you support. Let's team teach, okay, depending on what it is and where the teacher is comfortable at. But sometimes teachers just need to see it observed. Okay, so again, figuring out what kind of model you're going to use. And I love this too because it also kind of reminds you over here, use visuals. It tells about like co-teaching actions. And so one of them, is like go over the expectations. So do you want to go over the expectations since you're familiar with your class and the classroom like procedures? And then I'll start the context of the concepts and all that kind of stuff. So again, splitting it up so that you are team teaching can be a really benefit thing for the teacher and the students. Step 4 is starting to implement those strategies. So now that you've kind of decided all those 3 steps in the planning part, now you're ready to implement it. And I always suggest scheduling that meeting when you're planning. Go ahead and schedule to come in the classroom. And a lot of teachers at first, that was really odd to them that I could come into the classroom. But that's how I'm supposed to support them. And so I would be able to say, hey, let's chat and let's meet and co on this day, and then let's go in and co-plan on this day. So it's very mapped out for some of my teachers. But the first thing that I like to do is kind of create an agenda. So on my YouTube channel, I have different agendas that you're able to use. And if you go down to the speaker notes, there's a Google Slides presentation to all of the different resources. So right here is an agenda. And you can kind of see, I want my teachers to know, okay, what do we want them to do when they walk in the room? What do we maybe expect of them? What's the game plan that we're going to do? And I just like to map that out so we both are on the same page. Once we have that, I also add all of the material to my Google Calendar. So I will go over here to Google Calendar, and everything for my coaching cycles are in my calendar. Okay, so everything that I need. So right here, I just click and there is the material. So you can see I'm going in and I'm posting all of the material I'm going to need for this class because every single class is different. Also, when I'm going in to create these materials, I am also making a copy of my original template and I write the teacher's name at the top because I have to customize every single resource for their classroom because every classroom is a little bit different. So again, I'm making a copy of it, putting their name up there, and then I attach it right in my Google Calendar. So that way everything is in there. And if there's not something I need, then I don't post anything. But again, it's just a nice way to quickly grab things and keep my drive organized because my drive is not organized. So I'm able to keep it organized on my Google Calendar, and then I can go back and relook if I needed to. Also, if it's a newer teacher, I might check in with them that week of that coaching cycle. Hey, just a reminder, I'm coming in on Wednesday, is what I might send in the email. Have you posted this, this, and this in your Google Classroom? Just a reminder, I have copied these documents, okay? Or whatever you decided on that delegation part, you're kind of sending an email recap to make sure you're both on the same page. And then I always end the message with, like, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Happy to help. But it just helps to make sure everything's going to go really smooth that first time coaching with that teacher. And as you kind of coach with certain teachers, you don't have to do that as often because you've built that relationship, you've built those procedures, but it does help those first couple of times. And what I would do is on Sunday, I would write up all these different emails and send them for Monday. So that way everything was ready for the week. And then they knew, hey, I'm coming in. Please do this, this, and this. And just a reminder, I did this. Looking forward to co teaching with you this week. So just kind of help that extra reminder for teachers. If they needed to get something ready. Also, if we had the planning session sometimes 2 weeks before, they would have a reminder that other week. And some teachers aren't familiar with Google Classroom. So the teachers that I've been with for 5 years, they're used to me. They're used to Google Classroom. They're used to me linking my materials. So I don't need to send them reminders anymore. Where my newer teachers, I do have to because they're not familiar with my style until they learn how I kind of work. So it's been really helpful, just those weekly kind of check-ins of, hey, just a reminder, you have an appointment with me. Looking forward to catching up and co-teaching with you. Just sending a quick email to kind of remind them and make sure that everything's going to go smoothly. Step number 5 is that reflection piece. So now you're ready to reflect. And I sadly know that this step often gets left out on coaching cycles. I really try not to because this is what got me moving. This got me more business when I first started coaching. But I've seen it a lot of times where a lot of people do leave it out, especially like teachers in the classroom too, reflection. So, what you want to do is you want to schedule a time. So sometimes I'll schedule a time. Sometimes I have weekly check ins with certain teachers. Sometimes it's bi weekly because, again, you build those relationships. So, again, you want to schedule a time and just do a walk in chat. You can talk with the teacher, or you can schedule a time and text the teacher. You can email the teacher, but just a quick reflection of how did the lesson go, even if it's right after you go teach with them at the end of the day. Just a quick, hey, how did you think it went? Any changes we need to do? Did you see any new problems occur, or what do you think you want to try next? What worked, what didn't work, any new problems, and then that follow up. So after I do that reflection piece, I want to follow up again. So I'll put on my calendar in 2 weeks. Hey, just check in on this teacher. And if I'm able to, I'll walk to their classroom and I'll just say, hey, have you tried blended learning again? Have you tried to use Pear Deck again? How did it go? Or they might say, no, I haven't. Or, hey, can you come in and help me create a lesson by myself? That allows you to book them again. So that follow up piece was huge my first year. And again, I just put a reminder in my Google Calendar that just said follow up, and then I would put the person, what they were working on, and then I was able to follow up with them. Follow up is also good for personal issues as well. If someone's having surgery or maybe they're having a baby or something like that, you can put different doctor's appointments in there and you can text them or send them an email. Hey, just wanted to know, how did that doctor's appointment go? And that will get you extra brownie points as well. So again, use Google Calendar for everything and add all of your different details all in there, and you can really start to build those relationships. Also, with follow up, it was kind of like an accountability person. So I'd go up to teachers, no, I haven't done that, but check in with me next week because I am going to do it this day. And they would do it. And then I would be able to ask them, how did it go? Do you need any support? And it was just a great conversation that we were able to have. So let's go ahead and just kind of see this in action. So, the first step, I have a teacher, and she has told me that executive functioning is a struggle. She's really struggling with just her students kind of taking ownership of their learning. So, now that I know that information, This was maybe at like a PD where she's talking out loud. This could be one-on-one conversation in the hallway. I might say, hey, let me do some research and let's set up a meeting. So, what I might do then is I might research some executive functioning skills that really help with blended learning. And what I have found is then I would take my research to that teacher. So, we would set up a meeting, and this would be like the planning meeting. And so let's say that the teacher is dealing with some executive functioning. So again, the first place I usually go is my Google Drive. And then I usually type in whatever this kind of keyword that the teacher might be struggling with. And once I kind of research, I might create kind of a resource for that teacher as I'm kind of digging in, but that's just my learning style. Like I have to take what I'm learning and create something with it. So, what I have is this hub that I've made because a lot of teachers struggle with executive functioning. So, right here, I've got my executive functioning, and I can say, okay, she's talking about like her kids and that they're maybe lazy or stubborn or something like that. And I love this slide because what it can do is it can show what executive functioning skills are kind of lacking with those students. Okay. So once I go into that I can take that with the teacher and I can say, okay, there's a couple different things we can do. First, I highly suggest that we do a pre-assessment to see where are your students at when it comes to executive functioning and that ownership of their kind of learning. Once they take that pre-assessment, let's meet and go over those results. Okay, so that might be an email. That might be me going to that teacher in person. Okay, she might agree, she might disagree. And if she disagrees, I'm going probably back to researching some other strategies that might help her. Okay, the teacher agrees, and she gives this pre assessment to her students. And what she's going to do is she's going to find out how they score, and that's how we're going to focus our lessons during her morning meeting. So she gives them the tests. We get all of that set up. I helped her set up the Google form, the Google sheet. So right here, we're right now kind of developing that plan of we're creating that Google form. Then we're going to implement it. She feels comfortable giving that Google form all by herself. So all I had to do is check to make sure that she assigned it correctly in Google Classroom. Okay. We're going to meet again and we're going to reflect on that data. What's going well, what's not going well, and then we're going to start again. So now we're ready for this coaching cycle kind of again. So again, we've got that problem executive functioning. We're looking now over her data. Okay. Now that we know her data, we're going to kind of align these different executive functioning strategies in order. So she might say, okay, my students really are struggling with, let's say, time management. Okay, so she's maybe has students that are struggling with time management. And what we might be able to do then is create a lesson together. So during that planning time, we are going to develop a quick 10-minute activity that students are going to do Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Okay. And I am then, after I kind of have that idea in my head of what she wants to focus on, I'm going to come in and co teach with her. Hey, I'm free those 10 minutes. Do you want me to come in and be an extra hand? I don't mind modeling a lesson for you. And we're going to figure out what she needs. Again, every teacher is different. So that is me building those relationships with those teachers. Okay. Once we have our plan, we're then going to implement it. I'm going to come in and I'm going to model. I'm going to co teach. I'm going to do whatever that teacher might need me to do. Once we do that, we are then going to reflect again. Okay. How do you think that went? Should we make some changes? Should we keep on doing this? And then we're going to look at the next report from her pre assessment. Okay. Maybe the next part of this is students are struggling with how they're responding. So then we can go in and we can do a quick lesson on um, how to respond appropriately and how to kind of stop, think, and what could happen, what could we do? Maybe stop, think, choose. And then we can also use this think. And we can go in again and I can kind of help the teacher build some of these skills. And then again, we're going to reflect. Okay, so that's kind of the coaching cycle in action. And again, each of these different steps, as we're creating this, I'm putting it in my Google Class calendar. So that way I have everything organized, ready to go for that morning of that lesson. And that is kind of how I organize my coaching cycle. I would love to hear how you organize your coaching cycle. So feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. Feel free to send me a DM. I love to connect. So please, please, please let me know what questions you have or what you do in order to support your teachers. Also, if you would like this presentation, here is the bit.ly for the slides. So here's the bit.ly if you want the slides and any of those links that are embedded kind of within this, or you want to see more, feel free to go to that bit.ly and join. With the slides, you will not have access until you join our Google group. So right here at goldedu.org, so if you type in goldedu.org, you will want to go to connect. Okay, and if you go to connect, you are going to want to join the Google group. So right here where it says join our group, you're going to click it. And then once you click it, you're able to join the Google group. There's like a message that will pop up here. There is a lot of coaching resources in this group and it's all free. So I really hope that you can join us to grow your PLN and to make those connections that we talked about earlier. And you will need to join if you would like access to those slides. So I would highly encourage you to join the Google group, join the community, share a resource, and take a resource as well. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I love connecting and I would love to hear what are you doing to grow your coaching cycles? How are you organizing them? What coaching model do you use? Look forward to connecting. And thank you so much for joining me during this session.